A clash of titans, setting the stage for Kursk, written by Anthony Beevor in the Second World War. The year is 1943. The world is engulfed in the fires of World War II. The Eastern Front, a brutal theatre of this global conflict, stretches from the icy Arctic Circle to the Black Sea. Here in the vast plains of Russia, two colossal military forces, the German Wehrmacht and the Soviet Red Army, are locked in a deadly embrace. The previous year had witnessed the titanic struggle for Stalingrad, a battle that ended in a humiliating defeat for Hitler's armies and marked a turning point in the war. Yet the Germans, fueled by ideology and driven by desperation, were far from finished. They sought to regain the initiative, to strike a decisive blow against the Red Army and reverse their fortunes. Their opportunity, they believed, lay in a salient, a bulge in the front lines near the Russian city of Kursk. This salient, formed during the Red Army's winter offensives, jutted westward into German-held territory, representing both a threat and an opportunity. For the Germans, it was a chance to encircle and destroy a large Soviet force, to bleed the Red Army white and regain the strategic initiative. For the Soviets, it was a chance to lure the Germans into a trap, to grind down their offensive power and launch their own counter-offensive. Thus, the stage was set for one of the most colossal battles in human history, a battle that would pit tank against tank, man against man, in a struggle for survival on the Eastern Front. The stakes could not have been higher. The fate of the Eastern Front, and perhaps even the outcome of the entire war, hung in the balance. The calm before the storm, German ambitions and Soviet defenses. In the spring of 1943, as the last snows of winter melted away, the German High Command, under the direction of Adolf Hitler, began planning for a new offensive. Codenamed Operation Citadel, the plan aimed to deliver a lightning-fast, decisive blow against the Soviet forces positioned in the Kursk salient. The goal was ambitious: to pinch off the salient using a pincer movement, trapping and annihilating the Soviet armies within. Leading the German forces were two of the Wehrmacht's most capable commanders, Field Marshal Erich von Manstein in the south and Field Marshal Gunther von Kluge in the north. The Soviets, however, were not caught off guard. Through a combination of intercepted German communications and their own intelligence gathering, they had anticipated the German offensive and the location it would target. Under the astute leadership of Stavka, the Soviet High Command, and generals such as Georgy Zhukov and Konstantin Rokossovsky, the Soviets prepared a layered defense in depth. Millions of men and thousands of guns, tanks, and aircraft were positioned within and around the salient, ready to repel the anticipated German attack. Knowing the Germans favored rapid armored thrusts, the Red Army constructed a series of defensive lines, each consisting of minefields, anti-tank ditches, and interlocking strongpoints. These defenses, stretching for miles, were designed to slow down and break up the German panzer formations, making them vulnerable to counterattack. Behind these forward defenses, the Soviets positioned large reserve formations, including powerful tank armies, ready to be unleashed at the opportune moment. The calm before the storm had settled, a tense silence pregnant with anticipation. Both sides knew that the coming battle would be a struggle of epic proportions, a clash of ideologies and military might that would leave an indelible mark on the course of World War II. Operation Citadel unleashed. The German offensive begins. On the 5th of July 1943, after weeks of preparation and delay, Operation Citadel erupted with a thunderous roar. Hundreds of German tanks and assault guns, spearheaded by the elite panzer divisions, surged forward into the southern flank of the Kursk salient. The Luftwaffe, seeking air superiority, launched massive air raids against Soviet positions and infrastructure, aiming to disrupt their defenses and cripple their ability to resist. The initial German assault, spearheaded by the powerful Panther and Tiger tanks, made some headway. Soviet defenses were breached in places, and the German war machine, honed to a deadly edge, seemed poised for a breakthrough. However, the Red Army's defense was far from broken. The Soviet soldiers, hardened by years of brutal warfare, fought with the tenacity and ferocity that had become their hallmark. They rained down a storm of anti-tank fire upon the advancing German armor, turning the battlefield into a maelstrom of fire and steel. The German advance, though fierce, began to bog down. The Soviets had anticipated the German reliance on armored thrusts and had prepared their defenses accordingly. The German panzers, slowed by minefields and anti-tank ditches, found themselves vulnerable to Soviet infantry armed with anti-tank rifles and grenades. The Luftwaffe, too, faced stiff resistance from the Soviet Air Force. While the Germans initially gained air superiority, the Soviets were quick to recover, deploying their own formidable fighter aircraft such as the WWII and the WWII to contest the skies. Despite the ferocity of the German onslaught, the Red Army held firm, inflicting heavy casualties and buying precious time for their reserves to be deployed. The battle for the Kursk salient, the greatest tank battle in history, had begun in earnest.